Hey, it's just like Christmas. We feel like kids ready to unwrap our presents because Google's given us all these new toys in Google Meets.
John even invited some celebrities to join us today.
Yeah, Mr. Einstein was going to talk to us about how we can't be in two places at once right now with COVID and everything. However, he's entangled in a discussion with Bill Nye, so he couldn't get to it.
So let me get to the point of what we're doing in this video. We would like to teach you where to find your Google Meet attendance. We want to show you all of the new features that Google has added in Meet, which include polls, questions and answers, and breakout rooms.
All right, so first up, attendance. The attendance is going to be emailed to you. It doesn't actually store in your Google Drive as a file. It comes as an email. If you've set up your Google mailbox with the updates tab, that is where it'll be. So I have taken the attendance emails and automatically put them over here in an attendance for Meet label by setting up a filter. If you need help with that, ask. So when you come in here, you'll see that you have a little spreadsheet attached, and when you click on it, you will see who was in the meeting, how long they were in the meeting for, when they joined, and when they exited. It keeps a log for the entire meeting for you. So you don't have to do anything to enable attendance in Google Meets. It'll just get emailed to you and probably go into your Updates tab if you have those set up.
That's really cool. So next, let's talk about the polls. In the upper right-hand corner, you should now see a configuration of shapes, which include all the new features we're going to talk about today. So if you click on it, it's entitled Activities.
All right, polls is no different than doing a multiple choice question in a Google Classroom or in a Google Forum. You just simply type your question, and so you can save it, but you do have to launch it if you want the participants in the Meet to be able to give you their vote. So once you launch it, you can also determine whether everybody can see the results or only you. So we click launch. And now when those participants vote, you will see their votes appear here. So the students will go to the same activities button and they'll pick the tool that you want them to, whether it's polls or Q&A or breakout rooms. And then they'll be able to see that feature. The polls feature, when you ask a new question, has a dot next to it for the students so they know there's new material there that they haven't seen. So now we're going to vote from some of those remote people, and you will see their all right, you can see we got one grumpy person. I'll give you one guess who wasn't in a good mood today. Although I think it's going to be a guess. Let's see when we end the poll, though, what happens. Yep, so we get the results of the poll, but we can't see individually how each student voted. All right. So that's the poll feature, just a quick way to get some feedback from the students on what's going on.
Okay, our next feature we'd like to show you is question and answer.
So we already have a question in here. When you as the teacher come in here the first time, you have to turn on the feature for Q&A. You can see up here it says allow questions. Before the students will be able to type their questions. We kind of pre-populated this so that you could see it when we came in here, but you will get a big button that says Start Q&A feature.
Again, when you click on the question and answer feature in the bottom right-hand corner, it says Ask a Question. So when you click on it,
then your students can ask questions, and other students can upvote those questions. So we know out of our 5 participants, 2 of them thought this question was important enough, other than the person who submitted it, so 3 technically. All right, you can delete a student's question if you don't like it. You can close that question out so that students can't upvote it anymore, or you can hide that question from the other students so they don't see it. There is no, as far as I know, pre-moderation feature in here, so you can't stop a question from appearing. They appear, and then you can deal with them after. Okay? You can filter by whether the questions have been answered, whether they're hidden. You can sort by oldest first or newest first, or you can sort by which one has the most votes. That's the way I probably would do it. So if like 10 students have the same question, it's more important than the one question only one student has.
Perfect.
Anything else for Q&A?
No, just to remind you again that for students to access the Q&A that you pose, it's not going to pop right up for them. They also have to click on the activities, click on Q&A, and the little blue dot will be there to tell them that there's questions. Other than that, no.
Yep, so you're going to have to funnel students towards polls or Q&A when you have something that you want them to participate. Once you turn on Q&A, they can leave as many questions as they want.
The next feature we're going to go through is the breakout rooms. And when you click here, you are going to get a list of the people that are in your main room. Up at the top, you have a couple of choices. The first one is choosing how many rooms that you want to break your class out into. After that, the second button will be to randomly shuffle the kids if you want to make random groups. And the third button is to clear them. Once they're in the main room, too, you can also individually pull them and place them into breakouts.
One thing to keep in mind about this breakout feature is that you are still going to have feedback issues using breakout rooms if two students that are physically in your class are placed in the same breakout room, because if one of them, they both turn on their mics, you'll get that feedback loop, or they both turn on their speakers, you'll get that feedback loop. The way to mitigate it to some degree is if students use headphones with a microphone built in, and the two students that are in the classroom are seated far apart from each other, you probably won't get that feedback loop because it's not playing over a speaker and the microphones in those headsets aren't that sensitive.
I honestly think this is a great thing to try with an activity or a 10 minutes. Hey, we're going to try the breakout rooms. I just want you to go and talk to each other and see any possible feedback and try to problem solve as you're going.
Yeah, you're really going to have to teach the students a little bit about feedback. We've all had to learn about that this year. And so especially with kids in class, one of the other ways to mitigate it is to pair an in-class student only with students that are remote, and then you won't have any feedback issues because there'll still only be one person in that breakout room that's present in class. So something to keep in mind. You can change the name of these breakout rooms too. So if you have a topic that this group is going to be discussing, you can change the name of it. So we've got our Civil War breakout room, and we've got our American Revolution breakout room. And the students will see those names for their breakout rooms. They are not in those rooms now, even though you've placed them here, until you hit create. When you hit create, and we'll splice in a student screen or two here for you in the video, the students don't automatically join the room. They sit there with the spinning, waiting to join. They'll click the join button to join the breakout room, and then they'll have prompts to leave the room after. Okay, so Vanessa's going to go have a couple of our celebrities join our breakout rooms so that you can see that. While she's doing that, I'll explain how you manage this as a teacher. So you'll see that there's a join button here. You would need to click on this join button in order to listen in on what's going on in that classroom. Also remember that you're going to have the same issue that the students have with feedback. If one of these students is in your classroom talking and you have your mic and your speakers on, it will cause that feedback loop. Okay, so you'll have to wear headphones and do the same thing that the students are doing to mitigate that. Okay, so once I join this room, it's going to put me over in one of these two rooms. You'll notice as our celebrities join the rooms, they disappear from the main room where I am, and then they slowly go from grayed out to darkened here, which means they are now present in that room and having their discussion. So I'm going to join the Civil War room. When I do that, it moves me down as a teacher into that room, where I then can conduct a talking to the students about what they're doing, etc. Do note that if you want a Q&A or a poll to appear in that room, you do have to go into Q&A and turn it on for that breakout room before students will be able to use the feature.
I really like this feature because if you're working and you have a problem and you can just type it in the chat, and as a teacher, the first thing you can do is check their Q&A and be like, all right, what questions do you have for me? And you can go through it really quickly.
Yeah, the chat feature really does not work in breakout rooms, because if you join a breakout room after stuff is typed in the chat, you won't see it. The Q&A feature, any questions they type will appear in there for you when you pop in. However, the catch is you do have to go into the breakout room and start that Q&A before the students will be able to use that feature so that when you come back into the breakout room, you can see their questions, okay? Same thing with the polls question. You'll have to go in and type the poll question before it'll appear in that breakout room. But more importantly, once you're in a breakout room, how do you get back to the main room, or how do the students get back to it? And so the answer to those is slightly different. If you're a teacher,
you just leave the breakout room that you're in. You hit leave, sends you back to the main room.
Yep, and then from there you can go and join any other breakout room to listen in on what's going on. You do have that little bit of a delay because you have to wait to go back into the main room before you can then join your other room in progress down here. You should really quickly join all of them and turn on that Q&A feature if you want.
When you're a student, we have screenshotted what the student page will look like. They will have a bar on the top of their screen, and on the top left it will say return to main room. So when they click on it, they kind of then become.
Yep. If, however, you want to end the activity for everybody and get all of your students back into the main room, you have this big button up here that says end breakout room.
Before you do that, can we do something else?
Sure.
Just things are popping into my head that I would have as a teacher. How can I edit the breakout rooms?
We did that in the other screen too. Before you start them, you can type on the name and change the name.
You already did that.
Yeah, I did that. But once you've already started them, if you decide the name's inappropriate and you need to change it again, you can click that and come back in here and change the name to whatever else you want.
So a cool thing here, when you edit them, you can also change the participants.
You can, but I'm wondering if you do that, if it's going to kick that person out of the room and put them back in the main room first and ask them to join again. But we'll see. Yeah, see, so LT Test is back to the point where they have to join the American Revolution room now using the link before they'll switch. So be careful about editing the room and moving students around.
And from an instructional point of view, I was thinking those two history topics that you told me, that if you had them study it and then they had to switch and teach the other participants in the group, this might be a good option. And we're going off on a tangent, but just trying to get creative with our lessons.
When you hit this end breakout room, it's going to prompt all of them on their screens to end their breakout room and join the main one. They simply click that, and it's going to put them all back in here. Notice that they aren't in the main room because we didn't go to each of those machines and click on it yet. So they do have to accept that return to the main room. If they don't accept it, they're kind of sitting in a limbo screen where they can't do anything until they do accept it. So you can see Vanessa's got that one. It's transferring that person from here over to here. They're all leaving those rooms one at a time. All right, so those are the 4 new features that have been added in the last week. Blurred backgrounds, just a note on that for you. We've done a little bit more research. It appears that students will not have blurred backgrounds on their Chromebooks right away because the feature is processor intensive, and Google's still trying to figure out a way to make it work on a Chromebook. Same thing for you as a teacher. If you go into your Chromebook and log into a Google Meet, you won't see blurred background, but you do on your PC currently. So keep our fingers crossed that hopefully that'll come soon for the Chromebooks for the students. And one last thing has to do with your Google Classroom and this Meet link up here. There are some reports from people all over the country, and Google's acknowledged that on occasion, students can click on this link before the teacher is in the room and join it, which then gives that student the moderator controls for the room, which is bad, obviously. But it also, you don't want the students in there unmonitored. There is a workaround for you, and that is to go in to your settings and leave all of those links hidden so the students do not see them. And when you go into your classroom, it'll be up here with the eyeball through it. So this means the students cannot see this link right now.
But the cool thing is the teacher still can. So you can join the meeting, and your students will not be able to, because the link will not be there for them to see at all. And join the meeting first. Once you're inside the meeting, return to your Google Classroom, hit settings, and make the link visible to your students.
Now, when the link's visible in the top banner of your classroom, the students know that the Meet is running and that you're in it, and they can join it. So it also works as one of the kids does bookmark this or write this down. they would be able to still type it in. But you can also in here, if you find that's happening, come into the Meet one, pull down this menu and reset, and it'll generate a whole new link with a different code. So if you find that happening, you can also do that. So that's what we have new for Google Meet.
Yes, and thank you guys to all of you guys for sharing your experience with this so we can investigate it and learn more and always keep the feedback coming.
Yeah, toss it in the comments in the YouTube channel or send us an email so that we know what you're experiencing, because that's the only way we can help you through these issues.
Have a good day.